Hello all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we will learn about the Angular crash course. And to complete this crash course, I will use Angular 19 with a standalone component, directive and pipes. So let's start. What is Angular? Angular is a TypeScript based front-end framework developed by Google for building single page application. So what is the benefit? First thing, the component based architectures. It means the components are reusable that encourage modular design, allowing you to reuse and maintain component across applications. Apart from this one, it also supports separations of concern. What exactly it means? It means component can be encapsulated its logic, template, and styles, leading to cleaner and more organized code. The second point is high performance. Definitely, Angular support ahead of time, that is also known as AOT compilation, that pre-compile templates and component during the build process and improving application speed and reducing runtime errors. And also it supports efficient change detections. Angular change detection algorithm ensures updates are efficiently applied, improving responsiveness. It also supports TypeScript support. So what is the benefit of TypeScript? First thing is strong typing. It catches error during development and leading to fewer runtime issues. Also, it supports lots of modern features that offer features like interface, decorators, and classes, enhancing code quality and develop productivity. The fourth point is comprehensive tooling with CLI. What it means? It means that it supports rapid development. Angular CLI provide tools for scaffolding, building, testing, and deploying application quickly. Also, consistency that ensures uniform structure and standard across project. What's next? That is powerful routing and navigations. So Angular is a single page application that seamlessly switches between views without reloading the page. All the latest browser supports single page application navigations. The second point is lazy loading. It loads module and component on demand. That is the reason it optimizes performance, and the page navigation is much faster than the traditional way. Cross-platform development. So we can develop web application, mobile application, and desktop application by using Angular. So web application, we can build dynamic responsive web page. For mobile, we can use Ionic framework to develop a mobile application by using Angular. The similar way, we can develop a desktop application by using Electron. And internally, we use Angular to develop a desktop with the help of Electron. Reactive programming with RxJS. What exactly it means? So Angular support asynchronous operations that handles stream, event-driven programming, and complex data flow easily with the support of RxJS. RxJS is a third-party library that supports asynchronous operations. The similar way, we can have scalable data management. It's perfect for application with real-time updates such as chat apps or live dashboard. Now moving to the next part, built-in testing framework. So Angular supports inbuilt functionality to write the unit test case and end-to-end testing that make our application more consistent and error bug free. Unit testing, we can Angular integrate with tools like Jasmine and Karma And for end-to-end testing, we can use any third-party library, example Cypress, Playwright. Now, moving next point, active ecosystem and community. Definitely it supports and resources like backed by Google. So Angular has extensive documentations, tutorials, and a large developer community. So if you stuck with any places, you can use a large community, and you can get the solution very easily. And the most important part is regular updates. Angular team frequently updates and ensure compatibility with modern web development standard. Scalability. For a small to enterprise scale project, Angular modular architecture and robust tooling make it suitable for both small apps and large enterprise system. Security. Built-in protections, example guards against common security threats like cross-site scripting, and provide tools to secure authentication and authorizations. The major problem we had with cross-site scripting, a third party or a hacker can inject a code in your website, and they can hack your website by making a changes on the network call. Now, Angular by default supports cross-site scripting, and if anyone is trying to inject any third-party script, that will be blocked by Angular. Now, let's move with the details. Before starting, ensure you have the Node.js and npm installed. If you don't have installed till now, install it from the official website nodejs.org and click on the download Node.js. Once you click, it will start downloading, and you can follow the standard process to install the Node.js and npm. Once Node.js and npm is installed, you can open cmd or terminal and verify by using node-v. The similar way you can verify npm has been installed or not. You can click on npm-v, and if it returns the versions, it means it has successfully installed node and npm together. We have to install Angular first. To install the Angular, we have to run the command npm install -g at Angular CLI. What this command do? This command will install Angular CLI at global level by using npm command. Once we click enter, it will take some times, and it will install Angular at global level. Now Angular has been installed successfully in my local system. The next things, I will create applications with the name of todo app. To do this one, I will write the command called ng new todo app. The ng command stands for Angular, and it will create a new application called todo app. If I click enter, it will ask few questions. Example, which style you wanted to use. I'm putting it for now as CSS. Do you want to enable server-side rendering? I kept it no. Server-side rendering means it will create traditional way of applications. I'm using for this tutorial, I'm using a standalone component. Now it's the structure of the application has been created, and it's installing the third-party packages that required to run the applications. Installation of the Angular and third-party library has been successful. Now I have started the applications on Visual Studio Code. Let's start first. I will open the terminal on view, come to the terminal, and here you can write the command npm start. that will build your applications and run the application on port number 4200. So what exactly npm start commands do? Npm command will look into the package.json file, and here line number 6, if you see, we have something called start. It means it will run a command called ngserv. You can also verify on the terminal it's running ngserv command. And finally, you notice here your application is running successfully with the port number 4200. I have copied this one. Let me open the browser and just paste this local host 4200. And if you see here, uh, our application called todo app is running perfectly. So what's next? Now let's go with the project structure first. If you see this todo app applications, here we have something called .angular. It has some cached related things here stored. Apart from VS Code, that is for Visual Studio Code extensions, launch and task.json that configure. If you configure any details about the Visual Studio Code, it will come here. If you configure to run the application by using the play button, it will run ngserv command because the configuration is kept it here on launch.json. The similar way, we have few more configuration about the VS Code. We are not more interested here. We will start from the source folder. The source folder kept all the business logic and component, directive and pipe. If I will go inside that, you will see there is a template called HTML. We have something called app component.ts that kept the business logic. So this is our root component. How we know this is our root component? If you will open the index.html and you see here the first component or the first selector, what we are using is app root. And what is app root stand for? App root stands for app component, and that is the way our first component will load into the browsers, and you can see this page. So, and the corresponding HTML for this component is kept it here in line. And how this component are related? So you can see here there is something called template URL that exactly says which is our HTML for this component, which is style for this component, and the business logic we will write it here in futures. Now this is the app folder. The similar way we have index.html. Since Angular is a standalone application, it has only a root level HTML file that is known as index.html. All other HTML pages, what you see, that is a component. The name itself, you can look into here, the component.html, that will be rendered on the single page application. It means on the same index.html page at runtime based on the configurations. We have a global level style.css. If we wanted to have a global level styles, we can keep it here. And if we want styles at the component level, we can kept into the component.css. Each component have their unique CSS files, and you can keep it there. Apart from this one, we have standard angular.js file that defines what is the project, how to build it, where exactly our styles are kept it. The similar way, if we have any third-party script or JavaScript, we can kept it here also. How to build it, these applications for production. If we wanted to configure for UAT or for QA or testing environment, we can have a new configuration here. The similar way, we have package.json. Package.json says which versions of Angular you are using or what all the dependencies you have for this application. For this application, we have Angular dependencies with the Angular 19 versions. Similar way, we have third-party library called RxJS and the chain detections library, that is nodejs. Similar way we can have dev dependencies. It means these dependencies required to run the application on the browser, but dev dependencies required only at development type. It does not require while we build the application for productions. So dev dependencies help us to development, like for writing the unit test case or any other third-party library is required. We can put it into the dev dependencies. Similar way, we have few configuration for TypeScript configuration. TS stand for TypeScript config.json. Which version of ECMAScript we are using it, that I am not going with details right now. Now let's start with to-do component. I will create a to-do component. To create a component, I am opening a new terminal. You can also open a new CMD from exactly the same way I have opened for Mac. You can open similar way for Windows also. Right click and paste. I have copied the command ng generate component to do. The command, what exactly it will do? It will create a component called to do, and it has been created now. If I will open the TS file, you can see an app called to do has been created. It has one template URL, and the similar way we have styles, and you can see at the left side also what all the things are created. If you notice here, we don't have a standalone true in these applications. Why? Because Angular 19 by default create the component pipe and directive at standalone. In our application, we don't have any modules files like app module.ts. Why? Because Angular 19 by default supports a standalone component that does not require any modules. So let's write the business logic now. The first things, I will copy the code first, so it will be very much faster, and I will explain what I am trying to do it here. The similar way, let me copy the code for HTML page and paste it here. Now there are few errors. Why? Because ng model and ng4 I have to import first, and that is coming inside the common model. So we focus here. Before that, we have to import from the app modules. Now since this is a standalone component, the import section is coming inside the component itself, and I have imported the common modules. Now if I am moving it here, there is ng model. Ng model required form modules, so let me import that also. And now you see all the error has gone, and I have to use this to do selector in app component file. So let me delete existing code and paste it to do. Now once again I am getting the error. Just command dot or control dot, and you can import this one. So if you look into the app component.ts files, now you have a to do component available here. A router outlet we don't require for now. Let it be we will use for futures. So let me save everything, file, and save all. Application has been saved successfully. Page has been reloaded completely. There is one warning for router outlet since we are not using it, but for now we can ignore. Now let me open the browser. The web page has been refreshed successfully, and you can see I have created a simple web application that accepts one input. I have given like meet with friend, and I can click on add task button, and it has added a to-do list. Similar way I can have meet with family, and I can click on add task, and it has been added. The similar way I can click on the remove if I don't like to meet today, and the similar way I can click the last one also. So the application is working perfectly. So let's go with the code. What I have done it. I have written a business logic here. I have created a list of tasks and what task I am planning to create right now. there is a method called add task and remove task. In the HTML files, if you see, I have a input and a button. Input is binded with two-way data binding by using ng model, and I'm using new task variable. Where exactly the new task? New task is this string, new task input. The similar way, once I click on the add buttons, it fired the add task. And in add task, I first, whatever the space are left blank, I remove this space by using the trim method, and then I added this task into the task array. And then the new task variable, I am making it at a single quote. It means I'm planning to clear the input. So once I do it, as soon as I will add the new task and I click on that, the text box will be empty with the empty string by using new task method. The similar way, if you look into that remove task, I have a button called remove task which give the index, what is the current index of this item, and how it is happening by using the ng for loop. Ng for loop has inbuilt variable called index that iterate over this loop and provide the correct index and initialize with the I. The same index is getting passed into the method called remove task. It means the first item will have the index 0, the second item will have index 1, and similar way it can have n number of index. That will be passed and it will call remove task with the index, and I'm using a JavaScript splice method to delete the item from the index, given index. And that is the way, once I click on the remove item, it calls remove task and it splice with the given the index and it deletes the item. So what we have learned till now, the first things, how to create a component and how to use this component. Second things, two-way data binding. So two-way data binding we have done with ng model, and to use the ng model we need to have a forms module. The third thing, we have learned event binding. So you can see we have a event called click method, one for add task and another for remove task. The third things we have learned is directive, and there is a called inbuilt directive called ng4 that will loop the task and display the task and also supports to remove the existing tags. Now we will add a navigation to our application. So what is Angular routing? Routing enable navigation between different components or pages without refreshing the app. We will implement a simple home page and a task page. To do this one, once again I have to open a terminal and I will run a command called ndegenerate component home. That is for home component. Now the similar way I will add a command ndegenerate component. I can have a shortcut also. Let me give you the shortcut ngg, g for generate, c for component, and tasks. So there will be a new component called task will be created by using this command. Now you see the left side, we have a home component and we have a task component. So let's write the business logic first, or maybe I will write first routes. So there is a called app routes.ts files that by default has been added while creating these applications. I will copy the syntax and I will keep it, so that will be much faster, and then I will explain what exactly this code do. I have to also import, let me import this add all missing component. So the first things, I have added a route, and if I don't provide any route, it will load a home component. If we explicitly call task, then it will load the task component. Now let's write the business logic also. First things, we have to open a app component .html files, and now before that we were not navigating directly, we were using a selector. Instead of selector we will use the navigations now. So what I have done here, I have used a standard HTML and I have used a router link. Router link is a Angular syntax. If I provide the blank route, it will open a home screen. If I provide a router link / task, it will go to the app module, app route.ts, and it will find, do we have anything called /task? Yes, we have here, and it will load the task component. And where it will load? So router outlet is the path where the component will be loaded. So this is the placeholder for any navigations. Any changes what we are planning to have here, it, if I click on the router links, the first, if I put the slash, it means we are not providing any path, so it will look into the blank path and it will load the home component. The similar way, if I provide the /task, it will look into the app routes.ts and it will match the exact path and it will load the task component. And where? Exactly in router outlet. The router outlet will be replaced with the component. So let's save this first. And let me open the browser now and refresh the page. Now I also imported a router modules at import so that I can do the navigations. So if you will look into these router links, now if I will go into the browsers and I click on this task, and you can see the navigations /task has been done, and you can see the component has been rendered within the page task works. The similar way, if I can click on the home and it says home works, so our navigation is working perfectly now. Now let's make it more complex, and I will try to add a service and I will move all the business logic into the service. So what is a service? A service in Angular is used to share data or logic across components. Here we will use a service to manage the task. So how to create a service? First I will go to Visual Studio Code, and the command I will create called ng, G for generate, S for service, and I will create a service called task. Now service has been created with task service.ts. Let me write a business logic exactly the same what we have written for component. Let me make it simpler way, and I have pasted the business logic. The similar way, I have a task that is a array, and the similar way I have add task and remove task, and then I also have a method called get task that will return all the existing tasks if we have anything. The similar way, I will use this service into the component. So let me go to the to do component, and I will open these things. So add task, remove task is not required now, but I will refactor the code later. First I will use the service. To use the service we required a constructor. So let me put the constructor. In constructor I have used a syntax called private, then a service name, and which service I have to use. So I have to use task service, so I have imported this task service. Now I don't have a get task, so I will first create a method called get task. So what get task will do? Before that we had a array task here. Now we don't require this task. Instead of, I have created a property. So remember that this is not a functions, this is a getter and setter way, a property called task. So I have a getter called task. what it will do, it will use the task service and get task. So let me close other things first that is not required, then I can explain better way. Now if you will see, it's do nothing. The get task on the service do nothing, just it return whatever the array we have, that return it, and the same task is getting binded into the HTML here. So that was the first things. The second things, we have to modify our add task business logic because the business logic has been moved into the service.ts. Let me copy the business logic and I will explain what I have done. The similar method, the method is remain same. I am using the same thing, but instead of adding directly, I am using the task service and then I use add task method. So what exactly it will do? It will go to the add task method and it will push into the task array whatever the newly added task I have created by using the UI. The similar way, the remove task, instead of removing directly from this array, we have to use service. Let me change this business logic also. So here I am using task service and then I am using remove task, and similar way I am providing the index, nothing more. Just I have moved our business logic from the component to the service. Why we have done it? Because service is a right place where we can write the business logic and can be shared with multiple places together. It means multiple component can use this service now, that we will use in future. Let me save this and open the project. And let me change the path also first. So instead of applause, what I am using task component, now for now I am making it to-do component and come back here. Just it's for temporary changes I have made it so that I can look into that my task is working perfectly or not. This task, and it's working as expected. So what we have learned it here, the first things we have learned routing, how to do the routing, and the second things we have learned about the service, how to create a service and move our business logic from component to service, and how to call the method within the service. Now the next step, I am making it more complex, and we will learn how to make a API call, then how to edit a task, and then how to store this data into the local storage, so that even the API is not available at runtime, we can use the local storage to retrieve the existing task. Now let's backend API integration using HttpClient. We will simulate using a REST API to fetch, add, and delete tasks. For this example, we can use a free API service like JSON placeholder. So first start with the task service.ts and let me add few configurations like the API URL. So first I will create a variable called API URL, and then definitely I have to use the constructor for HttpClient, so we can make a API call, and HttpClient need to be imported here, so I have imported it. And then I have to do some minor changes about this API call. So I am replacing the get task, add task, and remove task. Now if you see here, we have modified the structure of get task, add task, and remove task that now return the observable, because we are making a API call, and API call will return a asynchronous data, and that is the reason we have to use the RxJS observable. And I have imported and everything has been fixed it on the task service.ts files. Now let's modify the to-do component also so that we can use task service.ts. So going to the to-do component.ts and I'm modifying few code. Now I will use the lifecycle loop that is on init. So Angular has few life cycle hook. The first thing is on init. Let me update it that. So life cycle hook has a method called ng on init, and by using ng on init, I am calling a get task method that return the observable, and observable has to be subscribed. So once we get the data from the network, we will get the data inside this subscribe method. Whatever data is coming, we will keep it here. And now this component, let me make some minor changes also. I will create a task here, variable called task here, and let me remove this get task for now. Now similar way, I have to make these some minor changes for add task, because we are making a network call now. So once we make a network call, we have to subscribe. Once the data will come from the network, it will come inside the line number 28, and then this is the way we have a task variable, and inside this task variable we will push the data, and once again we are setting this new task equal to null or the blank string. Similar way, I am making the changes for remove task, and the same way I have to make a network call, and by using the network call I have to use the subscribe method, and the data will come here. So whenever we have to make a network call, we should have a subscribe method. So once the network call will happen, it is a asynchronous operations, and we don't know when the data will come. Once the data will come back, it will come inside the subscribe method, and it will execute the line number 37 in this case. Now if you will go with the remove task here once again you can see we are making a call http.delete. This is the REST API call, and we have some URL, API URL, that is a JSON placeholder, and what ID we wanted to delete, we are making it here. That is the simpler way we are making a remove task. Similar way we have add task and we have a get task. Now if you will see the changes, let me save these changes first. I have saved it, and let me open the browser now. I have refreshed the page, and if I am going to the task, nothing is working. Why? Let's open the inspect and look into the console. If you look into the console, you can find error, null injector error. Why? Because we are using a HTTP client and there is a no provider. We have to use some provider for HTTP client, and what is the name? That is called provide HTTP client. And how to use it? Let me open the Visual Studio Code once again, and now if you will see, we have main.ts files. It has bootstrap applications. Bootstrap applications has two parameters: the app component, that is the first component that will be loaded, and the second thing is app config. If you will go inside this app config, you will find there is a providers. In the provider sections there are multiple providers. Right now I have to add one more provider, that is called provide HTTP client. And if I will save now, and I will open the browser, and let's see, the error has gone. Let me click on the task is working perfectly. There are some binding issues that I will solve offline, but overall the application is working perfectly now. Like, let me add this, and you can see the object has been added here. It's the similar way I can remove any object and it is getting removed. So application is working perfectly. I will solve this binding issues now. Now I have added a title property here on the task object, and the problem has been solved. You can see if I will add a new task, it's working perfectly. How exactly it's happening? Whenever I add a new task 1, you can see there is a network call, and once the network call has been successfully returned the data will be added here. Since it is object, the object has been added perfectly with the proper title binding. Now think about if you don't have backend ready and you wanted to have the development, you can do by using the local storage. For now, I'm removing the service integrations, what we have done before, and then we will store the same data. Instead of backend, we will store into the local storage. So let's go with the task service.ts, and whatever changes we had here, I will remove it one by one. For make it speed, I will copy and paste the code, and then we can discuss about the implementations. Let me remove. And now you see there is a storage queue that is known as task. Any key you can give it, and that you can access with the same key. Using the get task, now I am using the local storage get item and the storage key. It means I am accessing the local storage, and the local storage are kept inside the browsers. It is a browser functionality. So we are using the local storage get item with the key, and we are getting if all the task. If task has data, we are converting this string to the JSON format, because once we store the data into the local storage, it is stored as a string, and once we retrieve it, it retrieve as a string. So we have to convert this string to the JSON format. And if we are not getting any data from the task, it means we don't have any task inside the local storage. We are returning a blank array. The similar way, we have add task and remove task. We get the task, we push it, and once we push it, we store this data back to the local storage with the same key. So if you notice here, whatever data we have that is in JSON format, we stringify it by using json.stringify, and then we store into the local storage. The similar way, once we have to remove it, we remove it first, and then we store once again back to the local storage. And now we have to make the changes on component.ts also. So we have to open the to-do component, and you see there are few error because we don't have subscribe method now, because we are not making HTTP call. Instead of, we are storing into the local storage. To make it fast, let me copy and paste the business logic, and then we can discuss once again. So I have similar way, I have a task variable and a new task string. If you see now in ng on init, before that we were getting the task from the network call and we subscribe it. Now instead of doing this one, we are making a task service and get task. Similar way, we have add task, and similar way we have remove task. So once we get add the task, once again we get the task, because we have to get the task from the local storage, and we change the new task to a empty string, so that the input text box will have a blank text, and we can add another task if we want. The similar way, we have removed task, we remove the task, and then we retrieve the new task from the local storage. And if you see the component, we have few error because now we don't have a title property. The title property was coming from the API call. Since we are storing into the local storage, we are storing as a simple format. Let me store this data, and I have saved these files. Open the browsers and refresh the task. Now if you will see here, new task, and I click on the add, it's working perfectly. Similar way, I can add new task 1. It's working perfectly. The remove one is also working perfectly. So now in this case, we are using the local storage instead of a network call. So what we have learned till now, we have learned backend API integration, how to fetch a data, add a data, and delete a data by using HttpClient. Second things we have learned, if we don't have backend ready, can we store this data somehow in local storage? Yes, we can. So we have learned the local storage. So local storage, we can store not only backend data, we can have some user persistence related data. If maybe temporary, if we wanted to store some data, so that for while the user will come back after 1 day or few days, we can have the local storage ready and we can find what user has done last time, and the same way we can display the data. So user persistence related things we can also store into the local storage. In this section we will create authentications, I will create a login page. There will be a backend verifications, token storage by using a local storage. Then I will also add a protected route so that access to the page is restricted if the user is not authenticated. And finally we will have a logout page so that the token what we have created, that will be removed and user will redirect to the login page. So let's start. First I will create a service that generate the auth service. Let me open the Visual Studio Code and let me open the terminal. First I will create a service that name is auth. Now auth service is ready. Let me open the auth service, and for now let me close other component and the other files. I will copy and paste the code so that our development will be very fast. Let me close unnecessary things. So here once again I have HttpClient. I am making HTTP call, and the similar way I have router. Router will be used to route or navigate the page. So if you will see here, I have a login method, and login method, what exactly it will do, it will call a HTTP call and then it subscribe. What exactly it do, it will verify the username and password. Password is hard coded with the word password, and if user is authenticated successfully, it will set the item into the local storage. So now, before that we were storing the hard coded data, now we are storing the token into the local storage, and once the login is successful, definitely we have to navigate to the task. Similar way, if user is not valid, I display a alert box, invalid username or password. Similar way, if we have to find if user is logged in, if token we have, it means user has been logged in. If we don't have, then user is not logged in. The similar way, we have a logout functionality so that we can remove the token, and once the token has been removed, we have to navigate to the login page so that user can log in into the applications once again. Now once again I have to create a login page, so let me create a ng generate component that called login. For login I will have to have a simple business logic. I am not going with the complex architectures, so I have created a variable called username and then password, and then we have auth service what I have created right now. So I have imported the auth service now, and once a user click on the login button from the HTML page, I am making a service.login method. So the login method will accept username and password, and it will make a validations. Our user, it will make a API call and it will do the validations. If it is successful, it will navigate to the task. So let's go back and open the HTML page also, and let me put the business logic there also. I have removed the existing code and I have pasted it. What I have done here, once again, I have a input that is for username, another input for password, and the third button, the login button. If you see here, we have some error here, ng model, because we need to import form modules. So I'm going back to the login component. Since it is a standalone component, we have to import forms modules, and if I import, all the error has gone now. Now let's go with the guard. In these sections I am also creating a guard. Guard is to protect the page. If a unauthorized user is trying to access my restricted page, this would not allow. For that reason I am creating a guard also. Let me create ng g for generate Before that, we were creating the component and service. This time we are creating a guard. Guard stand for G, and I have written auth. Now, if you will see here, it's asked which all method you wanted to have here. For now, I am using only for can activate, so I just click on the enter. So the auth guard has been created now successfully, and it has a auth guard, has can activate functions. Now first I have to inject a newly created service. The service name what we have created is auth service, so I will create a auth service, and then so I have to use is logged in method, and let me return also. This is not required. Yes, this is the way we can validate if user is logged in or not. Better to write perfectly here. If I will write it this method inside this if method, so that I can also have else part. Now if user is not authenticated, first we will navigate this user to the login page. So and then I will return the false method. Router now, so maybe I will inject it here also, so similar way how we have injected before. So let me inject router and then navigate to the login page, and then yeah. So let's understand this code once again. What I have done, first thing, I am getting the auth service, and auth service has a method called is logged in. So I inject the auth service, and then I validate is logged in. If user has been logged in successfully, then it means I will return true, and once I return true, the guard will allow the navigations. If user has not logged in, then it will come into the else bar, and it will navigate to the login page. Here also once again I am doing the injections by using the router so that I can navigate to the login page, and I have to return false so that the actual navigations will not happen. It will navigate to the login page. That's it. Let me save these applications, and now how to protect this route. First things, I have to create a path also. So I'm opening the app routes.ts. We have here blank and task. Now we required a login path also, so let me paste it here any places, and then I have to import the login component. So login component has been done now. Similar way I will create a logout. I will write a new navigations on app component.ts files, because all the method has been written in app component right now. So let me open app component. We have two navigation here. The first one for home task. Similar way I can have a logout, and for logout I have to write a method called logout, and definitely I am also validating is logged in. So once user has been logged in, then only the logout button need to be displayed. So I am going to the component.ts files, and here I am pasting these two methods. I don't have auth service right now, that need to be injected once again, so we need a constructor for that. So I will put a constructor here with the auth service, and let me import this auth service also. What I have done here, I have imported the auth service, and I have two methods, one for is logged in and one for logout. Simply I am validating if user has been logged in, and if user has been logged in, and then only the logout button will display, and once user will click on the logout, the method logout will be called, and user will be logged out from the applications. First the token will be removed from the local storage, and then user will navigate to the login page. Let's save everything, and then we validate our application is working perfectly or not. So I have refreshed the page. Let me go to the home page. Our guard is not working because I think I have forget to add guard into the app routing module.ts. Let me open app route.ts, and here definitely I forget here to add the can activate method. Let me add first. I have copied the code and I have pasted it here, and I have added the auth guard. The auth guard has been added. Let me save this now and go to the browser back. Now if you will see here, the page has been automatically navigated to the login page, and if I click on the task, nothing is working. Home, because I did not put auth guard on home, so that is not navigated to the main page. For now, let it be. I'm not putting into the auth guard into the home component, but if user want, we can add it like that. So let me add a user here. If you will go to the guard, sorry, if you will go to the auth service.ts, what username and password we are looking into that. So username, let me give some admin, and password, I have given the password. Definitely it's coming as invalid username or password because we need a valid username here. I have make a API call, and I have find what all the valid users we have here. So I have copied a user's name and I have pasted it here, Brett, and I have clicked on the login page. If you will see here, the user has been logged in successfully, and now I can do whatever operations we can do it here, like ABC, and I'm able to make it, and I can remove it. If I refresh the page, it's working perfectly now. Our logout button is not working perfectly because the logout button is not available here. Let's see what is the problem here. I'm going with the app component. Let me open the app component.html files. Here we have is logged in method we have here, our service, and is logged in local storage get item token key, and the token key what we have perfectly fine. So I have a right click and look into the inspect button, and once I'm going to console, I can see that can't bind ng if, since it is not a known property of a tag. So ng if is not a property that is defined inside a anchor tag. What we have missing here, we have to open the app component, and in import sections we have to add another common module. And now if I save it and go to the URL, and let's see, we have a logout button enabled. Why it was not coming? Because we have not imported a common module. So people, please remember these things. If any problem is coming, please look into the console first and try to understand what is the problem, and based on that you can try to solve it. Now if I click on the logout button, you can see I have navigated into the login page, and our token has been destroyed from the local storage. Now let's enhance our Angular to-do app with directives and pipes. We will add directive to dynamically style task that will highlight emergency task, and we will also add a pipes to format and filter task. So first let's create a directive. I will open terminal and I will type ng generate default directive and then highlight task. Let me open the directive. Let's close other First I will create a input, and input will have app highlight task, and then maybe that will be the type of string, and I'm keeping it as blank for now. We have to add few business logic. Let me copy and paste it, so we'll do some faster way. I have to add element reference, and then I can write here includes emergency. Maybe I will make it to lowercase, and then I can include emergency. Yes. Now we have to use this directive to the component. So let's open the todo component. In todo component we have task. Here we can add app highlighted task. We will add it here, app highlighted task, and I will pass this task variable. Now we have to add the directive into the component.ts. So let me import first. It's highlight task directive, and the error has gone now. Let me save everything and look into the browser. So if I write a task, my task, and I write emergency, and if I add it here, you see I'm getting a green color text. How it is coming? It is coming from the directive that we have created. The look and feel is not much better. Let me modify some directive also. Maybe I will like remove this line through. Just we will have a light green data. And now if you see, we have a task, my task, and which has the word emergency, then it is coming as a background green color. Similar things if I add without emergency, new task, and if I add it, it should not have any color, and that is working perfectly. So understand once again what we have done it here. We have created a directive that named as app highlighter task. It accepts one input that accept as a string, and based on the conditions, if it contain a word emergency, it give a green color, else it give a transparent color, and text decoration none. I can remove text decoration here also, we don't require. So it does not give any background color if it does not have a word emergency. And how we are using it? The first things, we have to import this highlight task directive to the component where we wanted to use. In our case, it is todo component.ts. So I have imported this highlight task directive. Then only we can use this selector called app highlight task in the component. Now in HTML file, I have added a app highlight task selector, that is a custom directive, and I am passing the string whatever we have created with the name of the task. So the task string we are passing into the app highlighted task, and that is the way we are receiving it here into the input, into the directive, and that condition we are matching it here, and based on the matching conditions we are displaying the background color as a light green. Now we will use pipe to format and filter task. There are few inbuilt pipes, something like uppercase, date, and slice. Let's use the uppercase first. So we have todo component here, and we are displaying the task here. So if we wanted to use the pipe that called uppercase, we have to write, that's it. And if we save it and go to the browsers, to see whatever we are creating a task, my small caps task, and if I add it, it is converted into the uppercase. How it is happening? The inbuilt pipe uppercase convert the string task into the uppercase. Now create a custom pipe for filtering task. So first I will create a custom pipe. Let me open terminal and create a task. Ng generate and p for pipe and filter task. Now the filter task pipe has been created. Let me open and I will replace this word to the proper way. So what we are doing it here, we have a transform method that is coming from the interface pipe transform, and if the task has the string, then we are filtering it here by using the filter method. Now let's go with the todo component, and todo component has the HTML file, and here let me make these some changes. In todo component HTML file, let me add few more input so that we can do the filtrations. To make it perfectly, let me put it HR horizontal line, and definitely we have to define search term. So search term, let me put into the here. Now we have to put the filter also, that what we have created now right now. So whenever we do hit task here, let me put the filter task, and definitely filter task is not available right now because we have not imported it. So I have imported this pipe also. Let's see where it has been imported now. So in import sections, you can see where we have also imported filter task pipe now. And if we will save it everything and open the browser, our filter is not working because we have to remove this title also. We are using directly task. So I have saved it, and now let me try once again, and now the filtration is working perfectly. Let me search with emergency also, and it's working perfectly now. So what we have done it, we have created a filter task, and if you will look into that, this pipe filter task pipe use the pipe transform, and it just filtered the data based on the given string. How we have done the binding, if you see here, we are accepting the string what we have wanted to filter, and we store into the search term, and then we are using a filter task pipe, and we are passing the input with the data binding what we have done with the input search term. So that pipe, custom pipe filter task, accept this string and do the filter. That's it. Thank you all. Thank you all for joining the course. Please subscribe and comment if you need any help. Thank you.